go ahead and get started with everyone. Welcome to our May occupational safety meeting. We are, weather-wise, I think we've jumped right into summer, and I hope you all are enjoying the cicadas as much as I am. And that is sarcasm. They're kind of cool sounding, but they're really gross. Anyhow, I'm Christy Durich, and I'm the Executive Director of the Safety Council-Southwestern Ohio. And I just want to remind folks to complete the survey. I know many of you have, but please, if you have not, complete the survey that has been sent out to you, just trying to get some feedback about the virtual meetings and so forth. And really, that's all I have to say, and we'll pass the baton to Ben, our BWC rep, who is here at every meeting to answer questions and as your direct connection to the Bureau of Workers' Comp.
Okay, well, thanks, Christy. Hope everybody's doing well. Just have a couple of quick announcements. I looked at my May webinars, and of course, everything's passed because it's the end of the month. So I'm trying to remember the June, but I just wanted to share a June webinar that's upcoming. And June 8th, we have one that will be from 11 to 12. OSHA knocks on the door. So it's kind of preparedness. In case that OSHA would knock on your door, what you would do as far as being prepared, being able to host them, know what to do. You know, things that I've done. I've actually, in my past careers, I've wrote preparedness plans for agency inspections. That's my old Procter & Gamble days, so I'm pretty familiar with this. It's and I've had a few of those where OSHA knocks on your door. What do I need to do? Am I going to panic? What am I going to do? So a great presentation there for that. We do have some up and coming classes. One of the classes that I'm going to be instructing is a half-day version of the emergency preparedness class that is coming up in June. I believe that's coming up in 2 weeks in June. So that's I think that's the 8th or 9th. I'm not quite sure. That is a half-a-day emergency preparedness class that I will be talking about. Oh boy, I've been talking about things like pandemics for how many years now? It's hot. It's a hot topic. We'll be talking about active shooter and all the different other things that go along with emergency preparedness to get you ready to handle an emergency and so your business doesn't get disrupted. There's also another class the following week. I believe it's on a Thursday. It is our OSHA Works series. I think it's module 3 or 4. And that is going to be a half-a-day class that is going to have, oh yeah, emergency preparedness and walking working surfaces. So I'm tag teaming with another consultant from the Cincinnati office. I'll be doing the emergency preparedness, and I'll be chiming in on the walking working surfaces part of that. So other than that, hope everybody's having a great summer, and don't let the cicadas get too much to you. I know that they're a 17-year thing, but here in Westchester where I live, we have the annual ones, so the bigger ones that I'm used to, so all the noise that happens in July and August. So hopefully they won't get into my pool, and because I'm getting my pool opened up here this weekend. So other than that, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. And our speaker today is no stranger to our Safety Council, Tony Santos. I always want to make sure I say that right. CEO and co-founder of Ving, who we've had present numerous times on various topics. So just to remind you, he's a Bowling Green State University grad there, Bachelor of Science degree. Over 25 years of professional experience in developing business models and technology designed to enhance training and learning experience. And he leads his company, which of course is an emerging safety training and employee compliance tracking technology company. He's presented all over Ohio and the nation. And today he's going to talk to us about ways to stay engaged and promote safety with remote and home-based workers. Because I know what I've heard is a lot of people are going to stay virtual. Some people are going to combine kind of virtual, so it's not going away, I think, for a lot of companies. So you will teach us about that.
Sure. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Yeah, it's interesting just to follow up on a couple of comments there. The whole dynamic of the way COVID has impacted our work environment and then our workplace and the way we communicate with each other has really solidified the approach for a lot of people of having a balance between work at home and work in the office and using our video tools and all of these kinds of things. And it's awakened a whole new audience that it truly does work and it can work and people can be productive at home. And in some cases, they're finding even more productive with a better quality of life when they're working from home or somehow of new balance. So I'm no stranger to the virtual work environment myself. I've been working in a virtual environment almost since day one that I graduated from Bowling Green when I went to work for IBM in their business partner network. And so just literally grew up in a virtual environment of some days in the office and some days not, and then perpetuated throughout the rest of my career. The difference between today and yesterday is that there are just an exponential number of people now that are working remote and don't have the same work balance, don't have the same work life that they used to have. But then there's a huge contingent of people that they just have to go to work still. I mean, the manufacturing line is only in one location. The HVAC or roofing that I have to service is only in one location. The notion of everyone can work remotely or work at home is kind of a misnomer. It just depends upon your job. But what we have been finding a lot across the country is people that do work in the service industry that normally used to make a trip into a warehouse to load their truck. Their routines have changed quite differently. A lot of them are having product and parts drop shift to their house where they load their truck, and they're not even going into the office. So they might be remote to the office, but yet they're still out in the field servicing rooftops, HVACs, and all this kind of stuff. The reality of it is there's a continuum along the line of working remote. Some people 100%, some people in the middle, some people sporadically. Either way, when your employee is part of a decentralized workforce, a lot about what I'm going to cover today applies. So it's not necessarily just meant that you're sitting at home at a desk in your office. Although a lot of our content today will cover those types of tips and things you can do to manage that environment. Think of somebody's desk as the truck seat that they sit in, or think of somebody's desk as the break room where they go have lunch, where you never really see that worker that often. What kinds of tools and ideas can you plant to manage that remote worker and promote productivity and engagement? So today we're going to talk about in our session really is just a springboard of ideas, that really will help you to focus on things that you should be thinking about to promote that productive work environment of a decentralized team. So our agenda is going to cover everything from environment, structure, personal wellness, and then wrap up with some resources at the end. From time to time, I'm going to do some audience polling. As you know, if you've attended one of my meetings before, it's always a big part of what we do and getting to know a little bit about the folks that are on the line. And we'll give you instructions on how to participate in a minute. But for now, let's keep on going here. So why is this something that we need to pay attention to? Well, for one, we have seen what type of upheaval to our business process we can have literally in a nanosecond, if you remember back to 2020 of March when everything changed. A lot of places didn't even have the infrastructure in place to accommodate this remote working group and lost time just in getting set up. Today, that's a much different story for so many. But the reality of it is, no matter if there's a pandemic or not, the global workplace is shifting as we encounter quality of life issues, younger generations who are just expecting that they have some level of flexibility in the amount of time in the office and the amount of time at home. People are getting used to environments. There's a whole group of people out there that never used to work at home, but now have been working at home. And as soon as their companies call them to go back full time, you might find that you lose some employees because they are going to go look for somebody who has a more blended environment. But with an 80% increase in remote workers, even happening before the pandemic, imagine what those numbers are going to look like post-pandemic when everybody is back to their normal day-to-day routine. They've had a taste of what's on the other side. And if we as leaders in our organizations are not prepared to manage our way through this new environment or new work expectation, we might end up losing some of our remote workers to other companies. And we really don't want to do that, because once we find a good resource, we know it's very hard to keep them. So avoiding the whole situation really is no longer possible. It is one you have to embrace and understand what is the right balance for your organization and what is the right balance for your employees. Not everybody perhaps deserves to be a remote worker. Maybe they need to have a little more seniority or experience or trust and credibility. Or maybe there's a period of time where you need to get your infrastructure in place before people can work remote. So it just depends, and you have to think these things through. But 2020 really did show us that some of us can do our work from home and be equally, if not more, productive. I know I've seen it across the board with a lot of the folks that I'm working with. There's just a change in their approach to getting work done. There's less interruptions throughout the day, and it just has taken their game to the next level. So if you could participate in the audience polling, that would be fantastic. It's real easy to do. At the top of your screen, you can see there is a respond at pollev.com/TD126. That's if you have a dual screen, that'll work out great for you. Or you can get your phone out and literally text TD126 to the phone number 22333. So if you go ahead and do the texting, that's really, I find, the easiest thing to do when on a web call. So you would just type in the phone number 22333, and then you would enter in the code TD126 and hit send. And in about 5 seconds, you will get a reply that says you have joined the session. We're not tracking your phone number. You're not going to start getting calls from me or our service or anything. Basically, it is just a way for you to send in a response. So if you could go ahead and type in a response and take your time and get it set up, it'll work and keep you part of the session the entire time while we're on the phone. And so we're getting some responses in now. I can see people are starting to get connected. That's good to see. And it's been interesting for me, and especially in our industries in Ohio, that we have so many safety council members that are manufacturing, construction, and the associated trades. And we found a wave of people being furloughed or working at home. Then we found that some of the people went back into the office. Some of the people never left. It was basically all over the place. But you can see here that we have a good representation of folks, but a big chunk of people that are always in the office. So the next question is kind of interesting as well, is if it advances properly here. Let's go ahead and advance slides there. Now, you might work in the office all the time, but what about your direct reports? Do you have people that work for you that work from home or remotely in a decentralized work environment? You know, these are the people that you can't just turn to your left or to your right and see them sitting at your desk. They're either at home or out of sight somewhere in the field working on a project. And so we can see here that a large part of our audience, over 50% of it, has this type of dynamic in their work environment. This is often as a manager, as a leader, as a business owner, there are times where you might wonder, how productive is my team at home? Would they be more productive if they were here? And I think that there's just this every once in a while thought that would pop into your mind that maybe would make you wonder, whoops, what the situation is. Today with technology and certainly loyal, hardworking employees, it's pretty hard not to be at work even when you're at home. I know like in our company, we don't really check on anybody unless we feel like maybe there's something wrong because we haven't heard from them. We want to check in and make sure they're okay. But with all of the systems that we use throughout the day and customers calling them, and there's really no time to not be productive. So it just is a cultural thing in our organization, but everybody's different. So there's things that you can do to help your people be more productive and to lower your anxiety around their state of productiveness at home. And one of those things to stay engaged and promote the safety of that individual and their productivity in that work environment is go through and establish a environment. So have you established company guidelines that explain the requirement of a home office environment? This is really important. And I'm finding as I talk to people across the country on this subject is that we sent people home as a group. And we said, well, pandemic has you working from home, just go there and do your normal job. We'll use your computer, or we'll send you a computer, or whatever it is. And depending on your industry, that had various degrees of security issues. But the reality of it is we have to take accountability for that anxiety we might feel around whether or not people are being productive when they're working from home. Did we set the table? Did we set the rules? Did we explain to people that if you're going to be working at home, these are the 10 things that you agree to? Some of the companies will even write down the 10 things and have somebody, the employee, sign off on it. I agree to do these 10 things in my home. And they're simple things. They don't always have to be something they have to go purchase or anything like that. It just really depends. Like in our particular business, if you have little kids, they have to go to daycare, or you have to commit to have an in-house daycare person. They can't be running around your desk while you're trying to help support a customer. So we make sure that people understand those expectations before they have the right to work at home. But basically what you want to do is make sure you write down what's right for your company. And it can include items around productivity and around safety. So setting up that functional workspace and creating a workspace is key. We can't have people balancing stuff on their couch all day. They would never do that in the office. We can't have people, sitting in inappropriate locations where it might be too noisy or there's too much cross traffic and things like that. These little checklists help people think through their environment. We want to make sure that that remote worker has that proper workspace set up and they can be physically present, mentally present when they're at work. When we're at work around the office, sure, we may drift off and have some emotional detachment to the work and think about what's going on at home with our kids. That's only natural, and those things are going to happen in any work environment. But the odds of them happening more frequently in a non-office environment, at home or on the truck or out in a delivery, it increases. The degree of distraction definitely increases. So what we want to do is we want to talk to people and require that they create an area that they will use as an office. So ideally, it's separate from their personal life. So as you can see in the space that I'm in here, I actually have 2 offices in my house. They function as other space as well, but this location happens to be on the 3rd floor of my house. And it's a converted room into an office space, and it's quiet up here. It's an old house with thick walls, and you really can't hear anything. This is where I go to do webinars, or this is where I go to do high-stake calls. If I'm in an environment where it's a little bit okay that there's other distractions, I work at my office on the ground floor. It's not people distractions from in my house, but it's just the mailman or a car pulls in the driveway and things like that. But those I kind of equate to normal distractions that I might have in any office. But depending on the type of job you have, setting up this environment, creating a space where they're physically present and it's away from the distractions of their personal life is very important. That we encourage people to do that. And then we check in that they've actually done it, that they're going to be able to put this environment together. And depending on you, you might have a checklist. Have you done these 5 things? And these are good ways to hold people accountable for being in a mindset of work and doing the right things. So your home office should be ready for work. When you walk into the bullpen or you walk into that service truck, yeah, there's things that you have to do to get ready for the day. As simple as powering up your computer or finding inventory and putting it into the truck before you pull out. But you don't start from scratch every day. So having a work environment that's ready for work with adequate supplies, a proper chair, a traditional desk, monitors that work, headsets that keep noises out, and or a phone that you can have easy access to are all very important to your ready to work environment. One of the things that we did when we quarantined back in March, once we determined it was going to be a while, we just told employees, we are bringing, a lot of people don't have great chairs at home and they don't have great dual monitors or the right keyboard or the right desk. We gave people a choice. We are getting a U-Haul and we are going to get chairs, monitors, and desks, and we will deliver them to your house. So some people just took their monitors and their chairs, while other people said, yeah, I have a space for my desk that I can stand up or sit down at. I would like that. And we helped to make them more productive in their environment and set them up. Some people who needed supplies, like a new webcam, we spent $50 and got them a high quality webcam. Or if they didn't have the right lighting, we got them the ring lights. These were simple, inexpensive things to help them get their work environment as ready for work as possible. Here's a quick video. One of the tools that we've all been getting used to using is Zoom, and I thought that this was quite appropriate for our Zoom life.
What are you doing?
Oh, good. Yeah, just making it,
Tyler?
Has joined the meeting.
All right, well, this is Tripp. Who's here? Tyler's here.
Beth's here.
Okay, the purpose of today's meeting is to discuss the...
Yeah, I'll be able to do it in like 30 minutes. John?
Has joined the meeting.
Hi, John.
Hi.
I was just trying to go over the purpose of today's meeting, which is to discuss the Tyler?
Has joined the meeting.
Sorry, guys, I got cut off. Is Paul here? Here? Send him an invite.
Put in your access code.
No, that's your PIN number.
It should be a 9-digit number.
Try pressing the pound key. Paul.
Has joined the meeting.
Any questions before we move on?
Yes, this is Beth. What's our best plan of attack for the second quarter?
Question
What
actually...
we should do...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I think
Well,
what we should do is
It actually
really
depends on
diversify.
how you look at it, because the really... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Given sales, we're at
Let me just say that...
Okay.
That's a great graph, John. Tyler?
Well, my main concern with the projections from last year was that they're just insufficient. I mean, they're not even taking into account.
Did we lose Tyler again?
Hello?
John, are you guys taking distributions? John?
Oh, my bad. I was on mute. Let me start over.
So I've prepared a presentation. I'm sharing it with all of you. You should be able to see it on your screen right now.
Got it.
I don't see a link anywhere.
It says I need to download a plugin.
We are all using Macs, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
How can you?
Financials are looking great. Paul, do you have any comments on staffing?
I was thinking about that because we get a few more contractor types in. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Rex, get down.
I don't know. I feel like when I look at the numbers,
What are you doing? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
given sales, we're at
Let me just say that...
Okay.
That's a great graph, John. Tyler?
Well, my main concern with the projections from last year was...
How can you?
Financials are looking great. Paul, do you have any comments on staffing?
Well, I'm not sure what happened there, but the video had a mind of its own and started over again. But if we're all used to doing video webinar calls these days, they're seemingly happening all the time. And these are kind of the issues that we've come across from time to time as participants: people's audio cutting out, people forgetting they're on mute, dogs barking, distracted people playing solitaire instead of paying attention to the meeting at hand. These are a lot of different challenges. And I know that we come across these on quite a regular basis. And we would think after a lot of experiences now, people would have taken corrective action. But this is a big area where we really have to step up and give people guidance. If you're going to do this productively with virtual calls and use webinars and do it in a productive way, we need to set expectations with them. Come up with your checklist. Make sure your audio is right. Make sure your lighting is right. Make sure that there are no distractions around you. What are the 4 or 5 things where you're setting the bar that if you're going to participate in a company video call from your remote environment, you have to make sure that you're set on these 5 areas. Now, I know a lot of people have gotten really relaxed with this. It used to be at the very beginning, if a dog barked, everybody freaked out, or if somebody's kid walked by the camera, it was a little bit like, oh my gosh, or, that wasn't supposed to happen. And I've seen a lot of people let their guard down on this, and it's becoming more commonplace to excuse a dog or a child or something like that. But I still believe that we have to treat this as we're setting the table for none of those distractions to happen during my virtual call. And if they do, of course, things go wrong or things happen, we have to have a tolerance of how to get past them and move on. But setting those expectations around how people participate in video calls is a very important thing to pay attention to do as well. So as we think about these kinds of things that we've talked about already, have you gone through and reviewed your list of topics like this with those in your company? And this is an important thing to do, is because, again, we can't just set it out there and send people home without expecting them to understand what the rules are. So make your list, review it with your workers, and go from there. The second thing here we want to focus in on is structure, hour to hour, day to day. Structure in anything we do is very important. Without it, we tend to lose track of what we need to do. We tend to not accomplish as much as we could, unlike in an office where it's very typically structured. So we need to just make sure that people know that even though they're working remote, we're expecting them to follow a similar structure to what they did when they were in the office. The day starts at 8, lunch is at noon, we finish at 5 if we can, all of those kinds of things. Now, what we do during our breaks changes. One of the things that we've started doing to protect the health of and safety of our employees is stretching techniques, things that I can do while I'm sitting at my desk, things that I can do in my family room. And we've really encouraged our people to set up a structure where twice a day you get up out of your desk and you do a series of stretching techniques. And we provided them with some training on how to do these stretching techniques without involving any weights or anything like that. And one of the reasons we did it is because what we found was that when people were in the office, they were more likely to get up and walk to a conference room, or get in the car and go on a sales call, or just stand up when a colleague approached their desk. At home, we're finding that so many people end up sitting for these lengthy periods of time. And they just all of a sudden they realize, oh my gosh, I haven't moved in 3.5 hours. So we need to make sure not only are we establishing structure for when we arrive, how we work, when we leave, but what we do in between that with our time around helping us to be safer, more productive employees. So it's a little bit about how do we manage that balance between what my body needs, what my work structure needs, and how I fit it all in together to be a more productive person throughout my day. Structure, hour to hour, day to day. Stick to your schedule. These are kinds of things that you can, I'm going to send you this presentation afterwards, and you can just use whatever you want in here. But if you have people that are working at home, you want to make sure you review this kind of list with them. First is stick to the schedule. Just because you're there and nobody's expecting you necessarily, unless you have a meeting, it can't just be hitting the snooze button. We need consistency. With consistency in schedule comes trust and credibility, and less people at the office are going to worry about how productive you are if you're sticking to that schedule. Be aware, schedule your day wisely. So if you're working in the house, you know certain things happen when you were at the office, like all of a sudden everybody needs to get on a school bus. Maybe you want to stay away from scheduling a call exactly at the same time everybody's running out the door and there's an influx of noise, or the school bus is coming back to the house. So be aware of your household schedules and work around those. If you're working in a hotel, be aware of the room service or the anything that could potentially distract you from an important call that you need to make or work that you need to complete. Communicate. So we do this a lot in our company. Everybody has a calendar, digital calendar, and we can all see each other's calendars. And it's okay to block 10 minutes off on your calendar as a break. So now I know that you're stepping away from the computer for 10 minutes to do something. It might be as simple as something you would have done at the office, like go get a cup of coffee, or maybe you just want to stretch your legs and step outside for a few minutes to get a breath of fresh air. Well, when we're in the office, people physically see you doing that. And there's no need to necessarily communicate because it's a visual thing. But if I'm at home and all of a sudden I'm not answering a text or I'm not looking at an email, it brings on anxiety as to where is this person and what are they doing. So we just ask people to schedule breaks. And then we know what they're busy doing something else, or they have a do not disturb time posted somewhere on their calendar, which also works for people in your family. I do this all the time. If I'm recording a webinar or if I'm going into a big call, I have 2 Post-its that are ready to go, and I put one on the back door and one on the front door. It says, do not disturb recording in progress. That way, if a family member stops by unexpectedly during the day, I don't have to hear the doorbell or somebody pounding on the door. If you have an office door, let your family know. Put a whiteboard up there that you can just write, do not disturb on important call for the next 30 minutes. Your kids will learn to respect it. Visitors will learn to respect it, and it'll help you to be a more productive person throughout the day. Of course, know when to wrap it up. When is it time to be done with work? How do I close down my shop? Now, my office is in an area that I walk past all the time. So there's certain times that, like, oh, I forgot to do that. So I jump back on my computer. I often wonder if I would be doing that if I was at the office walking through it. Of course, it's different. But one of the things that I do is that I have several lights on my desk, and I have a standing desk. And at the end of the day, I lower my desk to a sitting position and I turn off all the lights. And so even when I walk by, office is closed. So it tends to do less creeping into my personal life at night than it would normally if it was still lit up and still ready to go. So I do kind of make that transition. And dress for work. It's very important that we teach people that just because you're at home doesn't mean that all of a sudden your clothes that you would normally have worn to work collect mothballs in the cupboard and are never seen. You should get up and put on the same clothes that you would wear to work or to the office that day as appropriate. Making sure that you feel as if you're at work is very important. Now, stress is a big deal for our mental health and our safety at home. These are the kinds of things that you can go over with your employees to lower stress levels. The less that we have on our plate that is the unknown, the more productive we would be. The less that we have on our plate that is the unknown, the less stressful we would be. So define things for people so they understand what the rules of the game are, and you'll help to lower their stress level and increase productivity throughout their day. Personal wellness, mindfulness, and exercise. This is a big deal. So many of us went into these furlough environments, quarantine environments, and just up until recently, when we've started to experience everything reopening, we're kind of by ourselves at our home, talking to a webcam if we were lucky, and not having a whole lot of personal interaction. And so we saw a big, huge increase, unfortunately, in things like addiction and alcoholism and stress-related illness. So talking to your employees about practicing personal wellness or mindfulness or exercising is really very important. One of the things that we talk about in the area of personal wellness and maintaining safety and a healthy, productive work and personal life is stay away and manage stress that can escalate fast. You have to do the work, the to-dos, meet the deadlines. And as we approach these deadlines, if we haven't been productive at home and we've fallen behind, our stress is going to escalate. This is not good. So we need to make sure that people understand the correlation between the two. Your productivity is the path to less stress. If you're having trouble being productive, then let's go back and look at our lists that we put together. Let's see what areas of that home work environment or that remote work environment are not quite up to snuff, and see if we can take some corrective action and help you to increase productivity and lower your stress. Eating right. This is a big thing. In the office, the kitchen is not 2 steps away. And the snacks closet is not 2 steps away. And it's already most likely paid for. You don't even have to search for $1.50 to go buy the bag of chips or to get a Diet Coke or something like that. It's within arm's reach. So maintaining physical health, energy levels, maintaining appropriate weight levels for each individuals. These are things that we should talk to people about is in terms of their home work environment or their remote work environment, to maintaining eat right, talking about the types of food options and snack options that should be available. I know for me, my wife is an excellent cook. She loves to cook. I'll be at my desk at 4 o'clock and all of a sudden I'll start to smell dinner in the other room and it's snack time. And I would normally not even eat until 6 by the time I got home from work. So this environment of senses is hitting us and causing us to do things differently. And perhaps that includes eating the wrong things and eating too much throughout. A third point is no alcohol. So many people work from home. If we haven't reviewed our own company policy, odds are you have all had a company policy about drugs and alcohol at work. And nobody would go get a beer and sit at their desk and drink it. So why would we expect that would happen at home? Well, if you haven't covered the exact policy that you have again about productivity at home and the role that alcohol and distractions play in it, it might be time to do that again. Just because you're at home and it's 3 o'clock on a Friday doesn't mean happy hour starts. It starts afterwards, if that's your thing. Alcohol also plays a greater toll on our safety, our physical presence, and our ability to be productive. So again, paying attention to that personal wellness during company hours is a key thing to do. Squeezing in that good extra time. I already talked about stretching. A big part of what we talk about with our workers as well is ergonomics, and making sure that people have that proper wrist to desk ratio, that proper back support, they have their right chairs, and those kinds of things, so that throughout the day they're going good. We have folks in our team scheduling different times for that stretching exercise that I talked about. And then, of course, there's different types of physical needs across the continuum. Some people are very athletic and have that need to be out and about and doing things. Maybe you come up with a walk at lunch routine and you set up a contest for it. for that group. And, from 12 to 12:30, everybody in the company is out walking, and you ask them to take pictures while they're walking and post it to a company bulletin board. This is not only a great way to encourage some type of exercise, but it's also a great way for us to feel like we're interacting with people back at the office and helping us to feel less isolated. Get a folder on the Google Drive or on Google Photos and have people post pictures to it so that we can remember what people are doing and still remember that all of our coworkers have lives outside of work, how important that is to remember. And getting that social information is a little bit of what I was just talking about. We do this a lot as well. So we treat video calls, ones like today, and the one that I'm on with you right now was scheduled. So you have to have a scheduled meetings, scheduled calls where you can collaborate and have a group of people as if you're sitting around a conference table. That's all very doable as a schedule. But what we also do in our company is we video call people on the fly. So if I have a 5-minute break and I feel like, I would normally ask Karen to take a walk down and get a cup of coffee without scheduling it. What I'll do sometimes is I'll just call somebody, and if they answer, you can look at their calendar and see if they're busy right now. If they're not, call them, they might answer, and then just say, hey, you want to grab a cup of coffee? Two people grab coffee, take a 5-minute virtual coffee break with somebody. So these kinds of things, when you encourage people to do that, help increase their overall wellness, help to increase their overall productivity, and help them to feel a sense of connectedness to their company and their coworkers over these extended periods of time of working remote. So add these kinds of things to your company checklist. If they're already in there, feel free to use any of the key points that I've talked about today. This is a short video on mindfulness in the workplace, and it's done by Rachel Walla. She's a certified industrial hygienist. She is a spokesperson for all different types of safety training. She works very closely with Ving in our company to produce training content. This is one of the courses that she has prepared on mindfulness at work.
The word mindfulness conjures up all sorts of images and impressions. But if I told you that we were going to practice mindfulness at work, what would you say? Do I have to sit cross-legged? Is that the same thing as yoga? Does it require stretchy pants? And I tell you no, it doesn't require any of those things. Stretchy pants are optional. Hi, I'm Rachel Walla with Ally Safety, and in safety, it's well known that distractions are one of the leading causes of accidents and injuries at work. In fact, a study from UC Irvine showed that even minor distractions can increase our error rate by 50%. Mindfulness can make a huge difference in our safety, the quality of our work, and how much we enjoy our time at our jobs. So today, we're going to take a look at how we can use mindfulness to improve our work. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Despite being associated with a sort of new aginess, mindfulness is nothing new, and it's being embraced in industries ranging from high-tech to construction because it improves employee well-being at the same time as improving the company's financial success. But what is mindfulness? Well, basically, it's being purposefully focused on where you are and what you're doing. It sounds simple because it is, but it's becoming harder and harder to achieve in today's world. Let me show you what I mean. How many of you reached for your phones? And how many of you were either thinking about something else or doing something else during that 8 seconds? For those of you who managed to pay attention for the full 8 seconds, do you feel any differently now than you did before? Maybe a little bit calmer and a little bit more relaxed. A study from Microsoft showed that people generally lose concentration after about 8 seconds. Other studies have shown that our experiences of being uninterrupted typically are lasting 10 seconds or less. Today, we have 3 steps to help you improve your concentration using mindfulness at work. Not only will this make you happier, it will also make you safer and more effective at your job. Number 1, give yourself space to focus by taking control of your distractions. Brain research has shown that humans don't actually multitask. We just tend to switch back and forth between different focuses frequently. But this switching back and forth results in as much as 20 to 40% losses in efficiency. Another study showed that trying to focus on multiple things at the same time effectively lowers our IQ by about 10 points. Although we tend to blame social media for the distractions, work distractions are just as big a part of the problem. How often are you right in the middle of something important, and that new email dings into your inbox, and pretty soon you're emailing, instant messaging, and researching, all while taking part in a Teams meeting? I mean, technically, I'm on a Teams meeting right now. It's time to seize back control from our distractions. Not only will this be incredibly satisfying, it'll make you feel more powerful too. Start with your biggest distractions and set boundaries. Change the notification settings on your phone and computer so that you aren't constantly bombarded with updates. End emails with a note that you only check emails during specific hours, and if it's an emergency, they can call you. Go through all your sources of distraction and remove everything that isn't essential. It's as simple as deciding what's allowed to interrupt your life and what's not. Next, you need to take command of the traffic that's going on in your brain. I know we've got too many things happening in the world right now, and that politician just did that thing, and your favorite celebrity was just in a scandal, and your boss just sent that memo that you think was directed at you, but you've never stolen a sandwich from the break room that supposedly belonged to Jerry. And why does Jerry think that he owns the rights to everything in the break room fridge anyway? Besides, who doesn't put potato chips on a chicken sandwich? See that? That is just a bunch of garbage swirling around. We're going to take that garbage and throw it out just like we would the junk mail. Lastly, come back to where you are and what you're doing. The practice of mindfulness is really just noticing when your mind has wandered off and bringing it back to the present moment. Mindfulness builds like a muscle, so what may seem like an eternity to focus today can breeze by next week. If you can immerse yourself in whatever project you're doing, chances are you're going to enjoy doing that project a lot more, and you're going to be better at it too. Okay, now that you know those 3 steps, let's try another 8 seconds of focus and see if you can improve on the last time. How was that? Did you notice anything different? Keep working on it. It will get easier, you'll be safer, and you'll also enjoy work more. If you need help, check out our 3-minute Mindfulness at Work reset video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button. Until the next time, I'll see you guys later.
Okay. Rachel does a good job of covering a lot of information in a very short time period. So we really enjoy working with her. Let's see if we can get this to advance. Not sure why. I always have problems. There we go. So just a quick recap here. What is mindfulness? It's when you're purposely focused on where you are in the space that you're at, what you're doing, with uninterrupted experiences. And that is really hard to accomplish in this day and age that we live in with all these distractions. But I have personally found from practicing mindfulness that it is an extremely valuable tool. You'll go through a cycle of, I feel silly, up to, wow, this is kind of working, up to, oh my gosh, I haven't done it for a while. I got to get back on track because it really helped. So I encourage you to read more about mindfulness and do a little bit of research and start doing some exercises. Some tips for mindfulness at work are take control of those distractions. Rachel talked about it in the video. Distractions happen a lot of times because we let them. We put ourselves into an environment where they're more likely to occur. or they're within reach, such as your phone. These kinds of things you can take control of to minimize anything that's noise that you can get out of the way. You can start with those big distractions and move them into this non-essential for right now moment. Then you're going to be finding that you're going to feel better, less stressed, more productive, and more attentive as to what you're doing. We've all met those people out there where you walk away from them and you go, every time I talk to Bob, I always feel like he's listening to everything I have to say. But then we also talk to others where we're going, I am not sure that they got one word I said, because it seemed like they were talking about 10 different things instead of what we needed to focus in on right now. Taking control of that mental traffic, that garbage, and throwing it out is so key. One of the mindfulness steps that I practice when I'm trying to sleep, and all of a sudden your mind gets going about all those things that you could possibly stress about, mindfulness teaches you to let that thought into your head. If you're trying to focus on falling asleep and the thought comes in, let it into your head, acknowledge it, and then move it out. And you can move things out of your head by realizing there's nothing you can do about it in this present moment. So if you're sitting there thinking about that customer that you need to call tomorrow, you can't call them right now, but you can call them tomorrow. So don't think about it 100 times. Get it in your head, acknowledge it, write it down, and move it out. And then focus on when you need to come back to it and address it at that point, but not while you're doing what you're doing. One of the tools that I have found very helpful, and so have millions of others, I don't know if you've heard of this, it's called Calm, and it is an app for your phone, and you can get started for free, and it is well worth it. The annual subscription is like $80 for the entire year for unlimited use. And if you have a certain kind of credit card, you can get it free for the whole year. So check your credit card before you go paying for it. That's what I did, and I got it for free through American Express. But one of the things that this app really does is it helps you with your mindfulness and your personal mental health. There's 3 different things that I use on a regular basis, just to kind of point you at them if you're not familiar with it. Is one, over here on the far left, are the sleep stories. Now this sounds silly, and it feels silly at first, for a grown adult to want a bedtime story. But I will tell you that as somebody who goes and lays in bed and stares at the ceiling, these are like gold on certain days. The average story is 30 to 45 minutes long. And on average, I make it no further than the 10-minute mark before I'm asleep. And they're designed in a way, almost in a hypnotic way, for you to relax and think about nothing but being present, going to sleep, and putting all those distractions aside. And there's stories for adults and stories for kids as well. Then the meditations. These are great ways to practice different types of stress relieving exercises, anxiety relieving, productivity enhancements. Typically what they are 7-day programs. And each day is literally just 10 minutes of your day. And they get you focused on the right things to be a productive person for the day. And it really does make a difference. The mental fitness track is also one that really is all about helping you to train your mind and train your world. One of the things that I learned from the mental fitness was that how to think of things that we were grateful for more than we were thinking about things that stress us out. And one of the things that they taught me was to pick something that you see frequently throughout the day. And they gave some suggestions, and one of them was a traffic light, a traffic signal, especially if it was red. And the reason is because when it's red, we usually associate that with, oh, am I going to be late? Darn it, I hit the light red. It's a negative feeling, and it's bringing in negative stress into your life. What they were suggesting, which really works, is that condition yourself to every time you see a red light, oh, I get 30 seconds or a minute to myself. I'm going to think about something good. And it forces you to think about something good for 30 to 60 seconds until the light changes. And then you go throughout your whole day with this trigger of a red light, prompting you to think of good things versus frustrating things. And sooner or later, you're on autopilot. And when you hit that red light, you immediately start thinking about something fun that happened yesterday, or something fun that you're going to do on the weekend, or some accolade that you got at work. And it just changes your whole mindset. And before I get off this slide, I just want to point out, you can see here down this, these are actual screenshots from my phone. You can see down here, it says Open Plan Office Soundscapes. There's times when I'm working at home where I don't want to listen to music. I don't want silence. I play the Open Plan Office, and it comes through my stereo, my speakers. It is a slow, low-level murmur of phones ringing, people walking. Every once in a while, somebody will be talking, and then the sound fades in and out like they walked past your desk. And it just gives you this sense of productivity from falling down into that mode of being unproductive. There's coffee shop soundscapes, there's libraries, museums, all different kinds of soundscapes. This could even be a great gift for your company to give to an employee that works at home, as it is a little Christmas thing or holiday thing, or just something that they can earn points towards and ultimately get free of charge as a performance thing. When done right, working from home can really, I'm probably getting a chat here. It's probably saying maybe you're taking too much time and I need to think about wrapping up. Time's almost up, Tony. Yep, there's my reminder. And just so you know, we're almost done, Christy. Working from home can show a dramatic improvement in the quality of life, especially if we set the table right, set the expectations.